Buenas tardes. Hoy vamos a hablar de la revolución en el sector agroalimentario. Vamos a hablar de las tecnologías que estamos desarrollando ahora mismo para la que va a ser la alimentación del futuro. Para eso tendremos que hablar primero de dónde venimos, que es un poco cómo se ha ido desarrollando la agricultura y la alimentación, y luego veremos muchísimas tecnologías y muchísima información sobre lo que las empresas, las startups y el sector está innovando en los últimos años. Y bueno, espero que por lo menos de aquí nos vayamos con un poquito de hambre y con ganas de aprender esas tecnologías cuando las veamos en el supermercado, a ver si somos capaces de identificarlas.
Bueno, hoy me toca presentar a Xana Belastegui. Es licenciada y doctora en Ciencias Biológicas, Universidad del País Vasco. Ha recibido formación en las áreas de gestión de empresas biotecnológicas, Fundación Genoma España, desarrollo de negocio y comercialización de tecnologías, organización de industria biotecnológica, desarrollo de productos, escuela de negocios y marketing, habilidades directivas, Club de Marketing de Navarra e inteligencia competitiva. Os lo hablo en inglés, Comenzó el desarrollo de su carrera en instituciones públicas, tanto en España como en el extranjero, participante en el área de fisiología vegetal. En 2007 se unió al departamento de I+D de Eden Biotechnology, inicialmente como responsable de proyectos de I+D, posteriormente como directora de I+D, y ha sido CDO de Eden Biotechnology de 2016 a 2020. Actualmente trabaja en la empresa DNA Advisors Service, junto con Nora. Whenever you want.
Thank you very much, Humberto. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here also, because in a Friday it's not so easy. We're going to make an effort also listening to the presentation in English. So thank you very much for that. As Humberto said, I am a biologist by training and I have a PhD in sciences, but during the last years I've been working more on the business development area, the commercialization area, always in the agri-food sector. Okay? I started more on the plant sciences and then I moved into more broader into the agri-food sector. Nowadays, I work at DNA Advisory as a consultant for other companies, helping other companies to move their products and their solutions ahead in the market. And I also work, and you will see there, I am partner in a fund that is investing in startups, in companies that are developing their own technology for this agri-food sector, which I think is a very, very interesting activity. I am seeing different projects every day. I work with very different people and very talented people trying to bring technologies and solutions forward. So it's a very rewarding activity as a professional activity. Okay. So today we are going to talk about the food that is coming, the one that is already here, the technology that is coming in the following years. That it is allowing us to, open the fridge and being able to choose whatever we want. We are so lucky, at least in the Occidental world, we are so lucky that we can...
Sorry. This is for you.
Thank you. I was thinking it's going alone. Thank you, Humberto. We are so lucky in the Occidental world, I was saying, that we can just go to the supermarket, get any type of food that we want, fresh food, processed food, fish, meat, very different kinds. We go to Mercadona or we go to Carrefour and we are able to find maybe 10, 15 different varieties of tomatoes, for example. Okay, so how did this happen? No? How did this happen? Because it has always been like this. All the different generations have been able to access such different type of food. We are, if you see this map, this is a map that is showing the security index in the food sector. Okay, it takes into account, in order to give that information, it takes into account a lot of different parameters. that have to do with the crops that are produced in a specific country, with the technologies and the equipment that the farmers can use to produce the food, also with the degree of the studies that people working at farming have, how is the percentage of women, for example, working in the sector. So it takes into account a lot of parameters. But at the end, the idea that I want you to get is that the greener, the better. Yes. So we are almost in the top green in Spain. So we can say that we live in a country that has a very high food security index, meaning that we have access to a lot of different food, but also that we don't have a shortage in any kind of food item. Is the same situation more or less for US, but for example, when you check India, that is in yellow color, there in Asia, we can see that the percentage of malnutrition is higher. But if you check the prevalence of the obesity, for example, is lower than in US and Spain. So having access to a lot of food doesn't mean always good news. Okay, it will depend after on your decisions. In any case, I would like to say also that that prevalence of obesity in India is a little bit lying. Okay, because when we think on how many people lives in India, the high percentage of the population probably is considered a poor or marginal population. They don't have access to a lot of food, but the middle class and the upper class in India are starting to suffer from obesity and diabetes. Okay. In Spain, the agri-food sector, as you may know also because living in this region, you know that Navarra also is a very important region from an agri-food industry point of view. In Spain, the agri-food industry is about the 10% of the internal product, which means that it's a very relevant industry. In fact, in terms of transforming industry is the most important one in Spain, the one that has more people working at and that generates a lot of money, okay, for the country. We have 30,000 companies working in this sector. Which is really a very high number. And not only is a big sector, but it's a sector that is incorporating a lot of technology. Okay, one of the messages that I would like you to have in your mind when you leave today the session is that the next time that you have a salad, or the next time that you have a steak or a bar, a cereal bar or whatever, you try to think how much technology has been applied in order for you to have that tomato, that apple, that steak, or that bar. Okay, so Spain is really good in technology development, in technology implementation for the sector. We are among the third or the fourth country in production in Europe. So we are really relevant at a global level in this sector. Okay. And as I was saying before, we will talk about what is coming and the technology, but how did we get here? Okay, how did we get to opening the fridge and being able to choose whatever I want to choose for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner? So a little bit of history. I know it's not the most entertaining thing for an afternoon of Friday, but please keep with me, okay? I will try to make it short. But how it all started? You remember before Neolithic, we were, going around chasing the animals, well, or also hiding and going away from some other animals, but we didn't have really a source of food, no? But then we started to make a specific, to stay at specific locations. Why did we start to do this? Because we started to act as the first farmers that we had in the history. No, we started to select some plants and try to produce them more times instead of just taking them and running away to the next place. Okay, we did the same with the animals, and we started to build homes in specific locations, and this started the small villages and the first villages of the evolution. Okay, this is around the Neolithic. Here it all started to change because we were not collecting anymore, but we were farming. Okay. Then, in this period, it started something that gave results many years away from that starting point. We put here just one example, that is the corn. You might have studied in school that the corn didn't look like this at the beginning. In fact, it's not completely clear where it came from. We know that probably is in some place in either South America or Asia, and there is a common understanding that it came from the teosinte, that is that first little thing that luckily we are not eating today, and today we can eat this. Yes. So how did this happen? Well, this evolves in like 1,000 years, so it was not something that went very quickly, but it started because our farmers from the Neolithic started to see some differences between some of the plants, and they thought, oh, in this case, this grain is a little bit sweeter. We will keep some of this one for the next time, no? And we will sow this one in the next cycle. And this one apparently is growing higher, so maybe we also keep this one. And they started to put all this together. They didn't know what they were doing, but they were already starting to mix them and starting to obtain new varieties, but they didn't know this, okay? So it was a long process, it took very long, and it was blind. They didn't know what they were doing, but biotechnology started there, okay? Here I wanted to show you, this is Motilla de Azuer, and this is one place that is from the Bronze Age, and it shows the next step, let's say, from the first locations that they were created in the Neolithic. Okay, because here you can already see some constructions. You can see that it's like a small city. There is an area in the middle that is thought to be the place where they interchange food for other items. They also had spaces to leave the grain, to protect the grain through some time. They also had this water well in order to use it for different purposes, among them agriculture. So they already started to be much more organized. No? The same with the animals, that they had different areas for the animals. So it's the first one in the Península Ibérica that had already some hydraulic system in order to be able to help them with agriculture and other activities. Okay, it's in Ciudad Real. Then we advance to the Middle Age, and other technologies start to play some game in this agriculture evolution. Okay, so here you can start already seeing that it's not just about farming or cropping or taking care of the plants, but there are many other technologies that we need in order to advance. Okay, one of them was the use of the animals, because this helped to work the land in a different way, because people were not able to do it so quickly and so deeply, and with animals it was possible to use the earth and the land in a different way. Also, they started to use different crops. I am not only growing cereals, but I will start also maybe trying this legume or this orange tree or whatever. Okay, so they started also to rotate with the crops. And they understood that not all the soils were as good in order to obtain the different plants. They also started to develop the hydraulic irrigation systems, and what was able to bring also was that they were able to produce much more. So I am not only producing for myself and my family, but I produce more, and what can I do with this? I can sell it, or I can interchange it for other things that I need or my community needs. So the trade activity, it also started there, and the economic activity led to the villages becoming bigger, and then more people was arriving to live in those areas, because it was an area in which you could obtain profit from producing in agriculture. And also there were other people that started other jobs and other industries, no? Because someone had to help the farmers to obtain the equipment to drive the animals, for example, no? So that gave path also to other activities. Okay. Then the next big change was the Industrial Revolution. in which other type of mechanization came, the electric power arrived, we started to have steamships and also the railways, so all that energy linked activity, industry, also changed the way in which we were able to work in the farming activity, okay? Because we not only had the animals, but we could have other vehicles that also helped us to work the land, but also to harvest, to take more production to other places, so the trade also grew, and we were able to start exporting to other cities and to other even countries, no? Of course, with lengthy periods of time, because it was not from one day to the other one. Okay, so it was a big change, but also it started the development of urban areas. So not all the people was working in the farm activity, but also started other activities. Okay, and there was also another big change that was that was the preservation of the food, because it started a little bit earlier in China with the use of the cold, ice, and then also snow in order to preserve the food. But at this time it was when it really came more used in different locations. So they used salt, sugar, honey, and spices also in order to preserve the food and be able to take it to other regions, to sell it and to trade with it. Okay. At the same time, and this one you have to know him, our friend Mendel, at the same time more or less, another big change happened. What is that Mendel did that was such a big change for the farming? You know? Someone? Someone wants to talk about Mendel? So what he did was, I was explaining you before, they were taking, okay, this plant looks better, or the taste is better, let's use it for the next year, and like this they were obtaining new varieties, they didn't know this. What did Mendel realize? He realized that there were some laws on how this was happening. It was not, I mix this and let's see. No, he realized that when you were mixing two varieties, there was a law that said at this percentage will be taking the characters of one of them, this other percentage of the other one, and then there will be a mixture. Yes. So when he realized this and developed all the genetic scheme about the characteristics from the parents that are able to come into the progeny, it was a very big change, because then what they knew was, if I see something and I want to mix it, I know for sure that in the next generation, at least a group of plants have to have this that I am looking for, if I can see it. Yes? So then they started to develop varieties, but in a much more directed way. Okay? So for example, if you have this corn that is producing very good production of hops, but you don't like the plant to be so tall, because for harvesting and everything it's better to have a shorter one, then you mix it with another variety that is shorter, and you know that at least a percentage of the progeny will be what you want. Big production, but the small height that I want. Okay? So a lot of varieties started to be developed like this. In parallel to Mendel, the Green Revolution happened, and I'm not going to extend in here, but the Green Revolution, maybe you have studied the revolution at the school, this Green Revolution, it all is related to the different varieties that we were obtaining that were more productive. At the same time, they identified that using fertilizer was able to boost that production, that there were also some molecules that you could use to protect your plants, so they could maintain that production, and all that together with the equipment and the technification gave a very big increase in the productivity of some of the more relevant crops, like the cereals and some of the legumes, and this made possible that we could feed a lot of people. No? That it was not only production that was for that area, but that the production could be then exported, and it was a very big production. So that was a very big change that was going in parallel to that variety development. Okay? Okay? The same for, the same, a ver, ¿para dónde voy? ¿Para dónde estoy yendo? Okay, sorry. The same for the animals, okay? It's not only for the plants, but also for the animals. And then in parallel, another very big event on science happened. That was the identification of the structure of the DNA. No? That was done by Franklin, Crick and Watson in 1953. What they did was the next step that we needed after Mendel. So Mendel tells us, if you look at it, and you can select it by looking at it, you can mix it, and you can obtain that you are looking for. Now, with the DNA, what was that we were going to know? We were going to know, within that DNA that the plants had, which part was responsible for that thing that we were looking for. And not only that, but I don't need to see the characteristic. For example, could be that it's not so obvious when a plant is a little bit tolerant to the stress, I don't know, to water stress or to a high temperature. Maybe it's not so easy to see, but if I know a region of the DNA that is directly linked with this, then I can select it because I can analyze, okay? This didn't happen in one day. This took a lot of years of development in order to be able to analyze the gene sequence of the plants, in order to identify and link each gene, each DNA part with the activity of the trait, that is how we call it, no? The genetic trait. And then be able to analyze a specific plant and say, okay, this plant has this region. So if it has this region, then I can think that it has this characteristic. This took a lot of time. For example, if you think on the sequencing of the genes, around 15 years ago, a sequencer was one sequencer per world. No one else had it. It was one. Then some universities started to be able to have sequencing equipment. But then suddenly the technology got cheaper, and a lot of research groups could start sequencing animals, plants, the human DNA, and now it's super cheap. Everybody can sequence a gene or our own DNA, and we can know where are we coming from. No? So now it's super cheap, but some years ago was millions to be able to use the technology. So it took some time, but it advanced. It advanced into different techniques that we could use. Summarizing that, the traditional way of doing the genetic improvement was mixing two different varieties and identifying the product that I like. And I can do that also analyzing the DNA, okay? I can change the DNA if I apply chemical products or radiation, for example. I apply it to the seeds, and then I put to grow the different seeds, and I see differences because the DNA has been damaged, which means has been changed, and then I can have a new trait or a new characteristic. Then we arrive to the modern biotechnology and modern plant genetics. That is, I know that this gene has this activity, no, gives this trait. Maybe I can increase the activity of the gene, and I can have an extra activity. So I obtain, for example, a product that has more sugar, more protein, or that can be protected against a pest. And that is genetically modified crops, okay? Which are these two. And the last step that we have been advancing on during the last years is the gene editing, the CRISPR-Cas technology. This technology is even more directed to a specific objective, and it can either stop or increase the activity of a gene, and is very, very specific because with a single change in one of the bases, is able already to change the activity. So it's very, very, very specific, and it's a technology that you might have heard in the news. In US it's already used, and we have commercial products, varieties that come from this technology. And in Europe we might have them in the near future, but only for some of them. Okay, because in Europe we always are very averse to risk, and we take it very slowly. Okay, in any case, it's a technology that will give us a lot of possibilities. Okay, in order to advance on the variety development. And here you can see a lot of varieties from different products that we've been obtaining during all these years. I'm saying since Mendel, okay, or even before, like the Synte to corn. This is the precursor of the carrots, etc. Okay, so a lot has changed. I mean, nowadays the seed companies develop new varieties each year, many varieties per crop. And as I said, if you go to the supermarket, you can see a lot of different melons, tomatoes, peppers, etc. Okay. Okay, next step in our food transformation or evolution of the agriculture has been the processing of the food. So it's not only the fresh products, but we have advanced a lot in how we transform that food. So we have the fresh products there, that is the gamma 1, as we call it here, no? Then they can be boiled, for example, and conserved in order to be used in the next months. That will be gamma 2. Then we can freeze them, and that is also an activity that is done here in Navarra. In fact, the companies working in this area, they are super huge in terms of exporting products. Then we have products that have been packaged in different formats, so we can use them in some days after. And then we have the processed food, and for the processed food we needed also the development of the additives, conservants, preservatives, etc. that gave us the possibility to have a longer life of the products. And also gave us different products like the instant food or like the como or similar, that they are ready to eat, no? Water, and I can eat them and I don't need to prepare. But of course, all these changes have also come with some other issues related to the health to the human health, because as it has happened with many technologies, we have seen after years of using products that maybe they were not so healthy for us, okay? And now we have to change some of the things that we have done before. Okay, so we are here now. We've done all this evolution in different technologies. We have been able to develop a lot of varieties. We have a lot of different types of products in our fridge, in the supermarket. We can prepare the food, or we can already buy it prepared and just go to the microwave and that's it. But it's true that we have arrived here because of all the work that the farmers from the very beginning have been doing together with the industry that surrounds the farmers in order to multiply the production, okay? Because before we were producing for ourselves, and now we can produce for the whole world, which is a really big difference, okay? So, we are here, but is everything okay, or do we have still some challenges for the future, no? I think that probably most of the population is not aware of the problems that we might have in the future in order to open the fridge again and have all as we have it today. We come from generations that they didn't pass hunger, for example. They didn't directly leave a war, for example, and we are not so used to think that a situation like that one could have, no? The closest thing was the pandemic. In the pandemic, some days there was a shortage in the supermarkets of maybe chicken or toilet paper, but I mean we knew that there was enough. The problem was that we were on anxiety, thinking that we were not going to have it. But the food industry was coping very well during the pandemic. In fact, we had everything that we wanted. No, there was not really an issue with any product. Maybe the flour for the cakes, because everybody wanted to cook cakes, but apart from that, it was okay. In any case, we have challenges for this sector, okay? And these challenges, how will we solve these challenges? So how did we do it until now? No? How did we produce more? How did we evolve into bigger size of productions? How did we have more varieties? It was always technology, no? So let's see the challenges that we have and how we can try to solve some of this. So one of the things is that the global population continues to grow. We cannot say the same of Spain, for example, or Navarra, because we have each time less and less and less children, but if we see it at a global level, the population is growing. The biggest percentage of the population is living in the cities. No? We've moved from that rural area into the urban area because there are already enough farmers in the field, or this is what we think, and that has moved us to the urban areas, and we think that that's the best option. But in the cities, we have some other issues. That is how much energy we consume, how much waste we produce, and how do we manage that waste. In fact, from the food that we produce, doesn't matter if you are looking directly to the produce from the field, or if you look to the products from the supermarkets. 30% of that in the field and from the supermarkets goes to the bin, goes to waste. 30%. That's a very big number. Okay, and then in the cities we also generate a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, and that's an issue because it's affecting our climate and our planet. Okay, and it is all linked. Apart from the population, there is another challenge that affects very directly the agriculture. That is the climate. We can believe or not. Everybody is free. We can believe or not that there is a change in the climate and that we have something to do with that change. That is the human species, the one that has moved this change in the climate. Whatever, the truth is that the climate change is there. Okay, if you see, this is the summer mean temperature from 1971 till 2018. Okay, and you can see how the summer temperature average has increased in all these years. And this is here, and we have to play with it, and we have to live with it. Okay, it's not something that we can revert. We don't really know if this option could be better or what is it. But the truth is that we have to play with this, and it's a challenge. Okay, and this will affect the crops, because if you think in Navarra, for example, that we are able to produce many different crops, a lot of vegetables, but also cereals, and in Andalusia, for example, that we are producing the olives, or in Valencia that we are producing the oranges, if the temperature goes up 1, 2, 3 degrees in Andalusia or in Valencia, probably they won't be able to produce those crops there, or if they are able to produce them, the productivity will be much lower. That's an issue, because then the product that comes from that crop, what happens? That is more expensive, and because there is less. Yes, so, and here in Navarra could happen that instead of being able to produce so many vegetables, we can only produce cereals that don't need so much water, because also we have an increase in temperature and maybe less rain. No, so it affects in many different ways. Then we have our vision about what is the food for us. No. Some years ago, it was only eating and being able to use that food to continue growing and continue developing and continue alive. But during the last generations, we are not only taking care of that. We like to try to eat healthy. All of you are hearing from your parents, don't eat that bar because it has a lot of sugar or a lot of salt. take the apple instead, or have a banana, or have an orange, no? Or don't eat another yate como this week because you already had pasta yesterday, or whatever, no? So, because I am also a mother, and it's true that we try to take care of this. So, we think that a good food and a healthy food, it would help us to have less, to be less ill, to have a better health, and that is a point that we are really looking at when we think about the future challenges, because we are getting older, the population in Europe is getting older. I know that this is a little bit far away for you, but you have parents, and you have probably also grandmothers and granddads, and you understand that the percentage of all population is getting higher. So the healthier we eat, the less problems that we will have, and the longer that we will live. Okay, so it's also another challenge. And then we have the environmental sustainability. Agriculture hasn't been sustainable in general terms before. Why? Because we use too many fertilizers, we use too many agrochemicals. We didn't know that we were harming the soil, but we were doing it. Now we know it. Since some years ago, this is clear. We know that we have to change the way in which we've been farming, and there are already a lot of changes trying to work better in agriculture, and also in the following steps in the chain value, okay? Using less plastic, a better packaging that is more biodegradable, etc. Okay, trying to use less energy. And in Europe, for example, we have, maybe you have heard about it, because it's usually every day in the news. That is the Green Deal that Europe has developed, and also the global challenges, the ESGs, in which there is an objective to reduce the use of the chemicals in the field, to reduce the nutrient loss in order to have a better soil, and to increase the use of organic agriculture. This is all as objectives. These are all very good objectives, but it's not that easy to arrive there. Okay, that's why we've had farmers with the tractors in the streets complaining because, okay, you don't let me use this product to protect my plants, but what do I use? I don't have any other thing. If I don't use anything, there is no production. There's not going to be cereal for the flour, or there's not going to be apples or whatever. No, so great. Let's change to a better thing, but give me the better thing, because if not, how I'm going to do it? No. So the sustainability on one hand is environmental, but it's also economic. Okay, because when you think, I was saying before, no, on the very early stages of the agriculture. Agriculture is not just the farmers, but it's all the industry that is around the farmers. Now it's a very complex chain value that starts in the field. Yes, starts in the field, but then moves into the storage, then is processed into different things. The lettuce can go in bags in order to go to the supermarket, or the apple can go into a cake that is going to be transformed also and be sold in package, or it can become a prepared dish that you take into the microwave. No? So there is a lot of processing, then is packaged, and is taken to the retailers and the supermarkets before arriving to our home, the restaurant, or whatever. So it's a very long chain that gives also an activity, a professional activity to many different professions, and that's also an important thing to take into account. And we are the consumers, and we buy here, and we pay X price for a banana, but that has to go back on the chain and has to be distributed along the chain back to the farmer. Okay, and we need to think also if the first in the chain, that is the farmer, is getting enough back to be able to live a good life. Okay, so we need to think about this, and that is also one other area of complaint from the farmers. And then we have the social challenges. That is well, we have social challenges because the age of the farmers is getting higher and higher. There is no replacement, or very little replacement from the young generations. If we don't have replacement and there is no one deciding to manage productions, in the fields, we will need to buy the food to other countries or other regions in Spain or other continents. That will mean that we lose an industry that is very relevant today, that gives work to a lot of people, but also that the prices will increase. If we are not able to produce by ourselves, and we are not able to produce everything, but if we are not able to produce by ourselves, then we will need to buy to other countries, and this will be more expensive, okay? So there is an issue with the generational change, and there is also an issue because there is a lot of regulation in Europe, and that means that it's not possible also to have the same profitability from the products. Okay. So again, now what do we do? No? So we arrived before to the full fridge. Great, we have a lot of food. But we also have a lot of challenges, so maybe the fridge is not going to be so full in the following years if we don't do something. So what can we do? No? What can change things here? So as I was saying before, it's going to be technology. There is no other way. Technology and that you are coming after, okay? After us to solve also some of the problems, no? With your professional activities in the future. So what is it out there right now? What do we see that is happening? Well, we were talking before about the changes in the climate and about the regulation on sustainability, that Europe wants to use less chemicals, so we have a better soil for the crops, and we have also products that are more are healthier and safer for us. As if we don't want to use chemicals, we need to find something else, because the plants still get pests, no? and get infected. So one option is to develop biocontrol solutions. Biocontrol solutions come from different sources, can be microorganisms, can be beneficial insects, can be molecules that are naturally produced by another plant, for example. No? But all this has to be identified by researchers, has to be developed into a product, and has to come into the market. Okay? There are several companies in Spain, for example, but many in Europe, that are working on the development of these biocontrol solutions as one of the things that we are seeing for the field. Also biofertilizers and biostimulants that help the plants grow with more vigor. Other area in which there is a lot of technology being developed is the digitalization of the field. So you remember that we were talking before that Mendel opened the eyes to the people at that moment, saying, look, if you select this and this and you put it together, then you might be able to get something that has the mixture. No? Then with the DNA we were able to link this part of the DNA gives this characteristic. With the digitalization and the robotization of the field, what we are being able to do is collect a lot of data on how that crop is growing, how that crop is being developed, how much food did I give to the crop, how much fertilizer, if I use biocontrol, if I use a phytosanitary, which was the temperature, how was the climate during that crop cycle. I take all this data and I am able to do two things. One is, with the day-to-day data, I can tell the farmer, this group of plants, this area, doesn't have enough fertilizer. Use fertilizer here, but don't put fertilizer in all the field, just here. Or in this area, there is it is starting a bacterial disease. So apply a biocontrol solution, but just in this part of the field. That is the type of information that I can give to the farmer on the day-to-day. But with all the data that I am getting using the digital solutions, that many of them are still under development, for the next cycle, I can have a complete picture of what happened last year. And that helps me from the very, very beginning of the cycle of the next year to understand which varieties were working better, which was the temperature at which the flowering or the forming of the fruit or whatever went better, which was really the average of fertilizer that I needed to use, which parts of my fields really needed a better care. So it helps me to be more efficient, to ensure a higher productivity, and to use less inputs and less chemicals. Okay? So suddenly, what it was a black box is a transparent box for the farmer. So this type of solutions are really relevant. And it's not only digitalization, but also robotization, and being able to help the direct workers in the field that are harvesting, or that are maybe pruning, for example, or that have to check the quality of the fruit, helping them directly to do their task in a better way, okay? Safer, with less impact, physical impact, etc. And we have many solutions, some already in the market, some in development, and many from Spain, okay? All these pictures that you saw are Spanish companies, okay? Then the same for boosting the production not only in the field but also in greenhouses. Okay, that's vertical farming. That's also a Spanish company that is trying to produce some specific crops in growth chambers, in closed growth chambers, very efficiently. Those are robots that are helping in greenhouses, giving information about how the plant is growing. For example, I have a full greenhouse of tomato plants, and tomato is growing during the whole year, okay? And next week, I know that the supermarket is waiting for variety 1, 2 and 3, but it's going to pay me more for the variety 3. These robots help me to understand how much I have from the variety 3, and if I will be able to take that harvest and put it in the market next week. Okay? So it also helps the farmers to get more revenue. Okay? And then there is also technology that is using the waste from the production to obtain other ingredients or metabolites or active ingredients that can be used, for example, for the health. There is a company in Navarra that uses the excedent of the broccoli and is able to obtain one molecule that can protect you. It becomes a capsule, and it's a natural capsule, and it can protect you from some diseases. Okay. Then another area, and for sure you have heard about this, that is vegetable protein, beef, any protein that is not coming from animals, no? Because animal production has some issues from the ones that we've talked before about greenhouse emissions, etc. So we are looking for new solutions that can produce protein for our products, but in a different way, with less impact in the environment, and that still we like them, because that's one of the issues that they have to taste the same as the things that we are used to. Okay. Like for example, technology that are using insects in order to produce flour and protein and obtain pasta or other products from flour that is coming from insect. That, of course, if I am not telling you that it's coming from insect, you won't be able to know that that flour is coming from insect. That doesn't mean that it's not going to say it, because they have to say it, but it's going to taste exactly the same. Okay, and it's a way of producing flour that is probably less impacting in the environment. Okay, and then there are other approaches like the 3D printing for different types of foods, in which you can use different material as a starting point, and you can produce fish, something that looks like fish, bacon that is not real bacon, is coming from a mix of vegetable protein and some excedent from the meat. This is also a company from Navarra, Foodies, and you can buy this in the supermarket. They have bacon, pate, and something else. Don't remember now. So there are many things coming. Kombucha is another example of product that is very interesting, and that is getting a big percentage of the drinks market, because it's not alcoholic. Is because of the process, of the fermentation process to obtain it, is also healthier. And in this case, for example, this company particularly is a company that they decided to position the company to locate it in a very small village in Extremadura, and they were also able to boost the economy in the rural area, to give jobs to a lot of people that was unemployed in that area, and they are bringing a lot of wealth to the area. Okay, so that's also an extra point in terms of challenges. And then another area is more directed to the packaging, in order to give the consumers much more information than the one that we have today. No? Today we just see the data in the yogurt or in the fish or whatever that says either preferably eat this before this date or you have to eat this before this date. Okay, but there are packaging solutions that try to help the consumer understand better when a product maybe it's not that fresh, but still is safe to eat it. Okay, maybe there can be some change in an aroma, but if you don't mind, you can eat it because it's safe. Okay. So this is a snapshot of what is coming in technology. I have to say that Navarra especially, of course because of the tradition also in vegetables and other crop production, is a region that is super active in the agri-food sector, in the new technologies. At the universities, there is the CNTA, the research institution, there is also a research institution from the CSIC, and then there are many startups that are coming and developing all types of solutions that we've been putting there. There are Navarran companies that are trying to develop some sort of solution. And in these companies, there are not only biologists like myself, for example. You can find engineers, you can find chemists, you can find pharmacists, you can find nutritionists, you can find, of course, administrative and legal and business management people, biotechnologists, data analysts. So there are many different profiles, both from university PhDs, but also FP. I don't know how you say this in English, but there are many profiles that can work in this area in order to develop the technologies that we already need in order to overcome the challenges that we were commenting before. Okay, so I hope this gave you, especially the last part, a glimpse of what is coming in the food sector. When you go to the supermarket, maybe you can have a look, for example, to the vegetarian area, and you can see there alternative protein products. You can check the composition of the kombucha and see how it is different to other drinks, for example, in terms of sugar content or salt content. That's another area in which the companies are changing a lot, the percentage of sugar and salt, but you have to look very deeply in the label of the products. And then I would also leave it here as a takeaway. Next time when you just get a fresh product, think about all the process, no, that took us as a human species to arrive here and have the opportunity to taste so many varieties of the different food products. Okay, so thank you very much. I don't know if there is any question. ¿Any comment?
¿Hay que hacer la pregunta en inglés?
No, pues en castellano. I can answer in English if you want.
Okay. No puedes hacerlo en eso.
No tengo que preguntar.
¿No quieres preguntar o no puedes?
No tengo preguntas.
¿Comentarios o notas? Nada.
Did you know any of the products or the companies that I was showing there? Because there are many Navarran companies there. Foodies, did you see the products in the supermarket? No? I think Leclerc has them? No? Carrefour? But also, I don't know, Corte Inglés probably?
Probably as
Yes,
well.
yes. But probably not Eroski. Well, Eroski maybe also has from
I
Foodies.
think so, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. So that's an interesting company because they have developed all the product here, and I have tasted the bacon. When you look at it, it's like, I don't know. When you eat it after you cook it, incredible how it tastes. Similar to the bacon. And the pate also, but the pate I haven't seen it in the shop, but it must be there. And then they have developed that with couscous that is a company that is developing the chuletones produced by 3D. And you have to look at the webpage, Cocos, with 2 U's, Cocos. Very, very interesting company, using 3D. Okay.
At least one, please.
No questions?
No questions.
No comments?
No comments, remarks. En español. Yeah.
No one has said it any vegetarian burger, or not even in the McDonald's?
Digo, sí, he probado una.
¿Sí?
De pollo, está muy rica. Digo, de...
Como si fuera pollo, ¿no?
Sí.
Yes. In McDonald's or
No,
bought?
lo he comprado.
You bought it and okay. You thought it was? Did you remember la marca, the label? If it was Eura or no?
Solo sé que era una caja verde.
Okay, probably it was Eura. Eura is a Spanish company, not Navarra, but it's a Spanish company with H, Eura. They have developed a vegetarian meat mimicking chicken, mimicking also beef. I think they have balls, albóndigas. They have the chicken and probably like bolognese, no? Yes, also. And it's a company that has evolved a lot and has obtained a lot of money to continue developing products from other countries, so from investors outside from Spain, which is, is a really good example of a company that is evolving a lot. Then there are other restaurants and similar that they have burgers from Big Meat, es la americana?
Sí.
Yes, Big Meat, also Eura, and I think there is another one, Impossible Food also, that they have different. But it's true that depending on the brand that you taste, some of them are, they taste better than other ones. But if you see the bacon, try it, because it's worth at least trying. Yeah.
And you said that the bacon had a little percentage of meat. So
I'm not sure. I think that the foodies one, no. I think the foodies one is coming from pea flour, the guisante. I think it was peas, yes. And that one they have developed with foodies, between foodies and Cocos. So Cocos has the printer, the 3D printer for food, and Foodies was already developing alternative protein products using vegetables. So they came together and they developed both things, because you have the part that is the red part, and then you have the white part that has to be like grease, no? It has to be fat. And that took a little bit of work, but finally they arrived there. And Cocos also has a Secreto Ibérico, that I don't think that one is still in the market, and Nora and myself, we have tasted that one, and that one is coming from parts of the meat of the animals that are not directly the steak or whatever that you would buy at the grocery, but it's parts that is not that, they are good for eating, but we are not used to eat them. So they use that part as cells that they put into the printer, and then the printer comes out with a new shape and mixed also with the fat and everything. And the Secreto Ibérico was excellent.
But that means it's not vegetarian.
That one not. No, Cocos doesn't produce all vegetarian. It's a different way of producing. So if I am using leftovers of the meat industry that are still safe to use, what I am doing is I am valorizing a product that if not is going to be wasted, and I am also producing a meat product with less carbon footprint than the cow for the steak, no?
More questions? Well, in any case, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see a business here, or this year. No, well, please.